Hey Carl, it's Mike. I'm going to make this as short and concise and thorough as possible. Okay, first things first, you got to open up Pro Tools. That's obvious. If for some reason your Pro Tools doesn't open properly and gives you error messages, shut it down, go back, and click on the Pro Tools icon and hold down the letter N as in Nancy until you see the Pro Tools, the blue box come up and start going through its paces. And then about halfway through, just release the N and it'll come up and it'll give you a screen that tells you what interface to use rather than the Pro Tools aggregate. Do not use that one. So anyway, so mine's loading up now. And when you see the wave shell come up when you're watching, if that should happen, that's when you want to let go of the N. Alright, so this is coming up, okay? Now, I'm going to show you how to create a new one. Alright, real quick. Alright, you go to the create when this dialog box comes up, and you need to leave this checked, show on startup. Alright, don't worry about sign in, that has nothing to do with you right now. So you go to create, and in the name, just put whatever name. I'll just call this Carl New 1, okay? Then you go down here, make sure it's on local storage. Go down here to where it says location. It'll come up with a dialog box, and you can put it anywhere you want. Really. What I would do is I would just, maybe if you have an external hard drive, or if you want to put it on the regular drive, I would just click a new folder and just title it, Carl New 1. Like that, just like that, okay? So, it's going to come up, and then you hit open. Alright, that's how you create a new one. And you put it on the location where you normally would go to use it. On this one, just for demonstration purposes, I'm using the local drive, which is the regular drive. Users, my name, desktop, the name of the folder, and then inside it's going to create a new session. Alright. You want it .wave, 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, and the I/O settings should be last used. Even though you have a lot of different things here, I would just keep the last used checked. This is what you got to look for though, the 44.1 and the file type. AIFF is basically for Mac, and Wave is basically for PC, but they use both. But in this one, they use a Wave. Okay, so now when I hit create, it's going to create a session. Okay, the session consists of two different windows. You have the tracking window. Alright, let me do that again. Why didn't that come up? Alright, and then you have the mix window, which there's nothing in here right now. Alright, so let me go back here and create a couple tracks here. Alright, so what I did was I went up to track, clicked it, hit new, and then this dialog box comes up. Alright, you can create as many as you want. If you're creating tracks that are all the same, then I would just put the number in here. Say I wanted 5 of those. Alright. If I wanted a couple tracks that have different formats, like instead of audio track, the track type, you have all these different other kind of tracks. The only one that you would have to really use right now is the instrument track. So I'm going to create a mono track, and you want it in samples instead of ticks. MIDI, you use ticks. In audio, you use samples. Alright, and you want it on mono for the audio track. So I'm going to create another track here. This one's going to be audio also. I'll show you something here. I got a third one. It could be, this could be bass, guitar, vocals, second guitar, keyboards. Alright, now if I want to have keyboards, just say I have this last track here. Alright, I would go to stereo, and then audio, aux input, master fader, VCA master, MIDI track, and instrument track. You want to do an instrument track. But before I do that, I want to see what these are. Okay. These are new, let's just say, just say that's a drum track. Where's the drum thing? Okay. Let's do something. Let's make it a Hammond B3. Alright. So, alright, let me go back here for a second and make sure that's an instrument track. Okay. Yeah. I'll show you how to do this another time. But this, you want just a regular stereo instrument track, okay? And when I hit create, it's going to give me 5 tracks. And there we go. Alright? They're all lit up. So what you want to do on your Mac is you want to hit, I think it's Option. Yeah, it's Option and click on the highlighted, on the white part. And it'll undo all the highlighted parts. Okay, so now what we have here, this is the edit window. That's what they call it, edit window. But I usually call it the tracking window or whatever. And what you want to have in this part here, you want to have comments, inserts, A through E, and I/O. Okay, to get these things, you go to comments, and you right click, and you can have all these different things here. Okay, you can pick and choose, or you can just leave it the way it is. Alright, long story short, I'm going to call this one down here drums, and eventually you're going to probably want to get this software. Alright, you don't have it now. It doesn't come with Pro Tools. It's a couple $100. But it's the best drum software out there, and it's got artificial intelligence built into it too. So just so you know. Alright, so on this track, what I'll do is I'll go into here, and because it's a stereo track, multi-mono is not stereo, just so you understand. Multi-channel plugin, that's the stereo batch that you want. And I'm going to go down here. Avid doesn't have any kind of drum machine, or the Air Music, I don't believe, has any kind of drum machine, unless this is it. Maybe this is it. Let's see. Okay. No. Alright, so that's not it. Alright, so they basically don't have any kind of drum machine per se. They do have Expanded, which I'll do another video on that. And they do have the Mini Grand, the DB33, and Boom, whatever that is. I think it's like a bass synth. But this here, DB33, is it's a Hammond B3. Alright, so you got all the anyway, so you can use that as a VST instrument, okay? But what I'm trying to focus on right here, I'm going to show you, because this is what you need to get. Yes, I'm spending your money for you. You'll thank me later. You need to get Easy Drummer, and then later when you get really good using the Easy Drummer, you definitely want to get Superior Drummer 3. I'm going to load in Superior Drummer 3 just to show you what this does. Because I have this thing hooked up to my Roland drum kit. Okay, so I can go in and I can play drums on the drum kit and it'll record it. Alright, now this is what it looks like. This is, I'm not even going to get in any of this, but I'm just going to show you. These are real sounds from real drums, and it's a great tool. Alright, so basically that's what you got. When you go into here on the audio, say if you want a acoustic guitar right here, okay? I have a plug-in from Waves by a guy named Chris Lord-Alge, and he does all these. He produced Bon Jovi and Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and he started out doing disco and funk and stuff. Now he's a big shot producer in Hollywood for albums and stuff. And he's a mix engineer. And so he got with Waves, and they created a plug-in set, like a signature stuff that he goes to hardwire, hardware, and they put it into a plug-in. And there's all kinds of great sounds on this. This is another thing I think you should probably get. I would get this first before you spent a few $100 on the Easy Drummer stuff. You can go to Waves, and they're always having sales on this stuff. I mean, like, I think this suite of stuff by him, I'm thinking cost a couple $100 when I bought it. Sometimes now they sell them individually, the pieces. Like they got one for bass, drums, effects, guitars. The guitars ones is pretty cool. Unplugged is the acoustic and vocals. They're processors. And so they process that particular instrument differently from the other instruments. Anyway, this would be a great plug-in set for you. So I'm going to shut that down. Okay, now like the next one, you might want to have a bass in here, okay? So if you had a plug-in set like that, you could use the bass module from that. I have several software things. I have IK Multimedia Amplitude 4. I have a thing called Scuffman Amps. It's called S-Gear, and it's a pretty badass thing. Here it is. They only would make like one thing of this, but it's got some really killer amps that they've modeled. It's kind of like having a Helix, and I haven't registered this again since I reformatted and started over. But I have a Helix plugin that I bought because I use it. Line 6 Helix Native. And it's a representation of what my Helix on the floor looks like and how it operates. See, I have all this stuff in here. I got all these patches, and there's factory set 1, factory set 2, and I have a Gary Moore preset a friend of mine made. I have all kinds of stuff for this thing, and I use all this stuff all the time. So anyway, that's just some of the things that you might maybe consider as far as plugins. But I would definitely get the Chris Lord-Alge plugin. And let me let you go, and I'll do another video in a minute. Hello?